Hello, this is Class 2, Lesson 3, Part 1 of the Clinical Operations Management Program. I'm Daniel Hermann Omren. Class 2 of this program deals with general management principles, and Lesson 3 of Class 2 will deal with leadership, and Part 1 of Lesson 3 will discuss what my definition of leadership is. So I wanted to give you some thoughts on what I think leadership is. For most of the classes and lessons up until this point, I've offered specific tools and techniques on how to become excellent in your clinical operations work. This lesson is not going to be so much of tools and techniques, but more mindset. I want to talk about leadership. If you've been in the military, for sure, if you have a degree in business, you have probably been exposed to some ideas on what leadership is and how to do it. That's what I'm going to do today, but I'm going to give you my take on what leadership is. To me, leadership is making sure that your people are successful, doing everything that you can to make sure that your people succeed. That to me is a huge part of leadership. Guiding, leading, managing, taking care of your people. When you're a leader, you have responsibilities and you have power. And just because you've gotten a job as a manager, it doesn't mean that you are entitled to neglect your people. You have to lead, you have to manage, you have to take care of your people. And to me, that's what leadership is. Or actually not what it is, but that's a big part of what it is. So what I'm going to do now is talk about different positions in the clinical operations milieu and what management or what leadership might look like. So let's talk about a CRA. The CRA is responsible for the success of the sites. So what would that mean? First, making sure that the site doesn't run out of IP. Second, making sure the sites don't run out of lab kits. Third, making sure that the site has all the training that they need to get the job done. To me, an SIV is about 50% effective. A lot of training needs to be done before it and after it. Training is a never-ending task. If you're a CRA, make sure that the site has a primary data manager and a backup data manager, and the backup is fully trained and familiar with the study. So let's talk about my thoughts on leadership from a CTM perspective or a lead CRA perspective. What can that position do to ensure that the people are successful? One, when reviewing the trip reports, make sure the comments are in line with the visit report guidelines. And thinking bigger, provide input to the project manager on how the visit report guidelines can be written so that way, first of all, the CRAs do what they're supposed to do, and second of all, they document it appropriately in the visit reports. A second thing that a CTM or lead can do is to have focused, efficient, meaningful meetings with the CRA. Later on, I will record a separate video on conducting meetings, but to me, the three important things that have to happen in a meeting are: people need to be told what the status is, people need to be told what's ahead, and people need to be told what the plan is. In other words, what they need to do. A meeting has to have a purpose, and it has to be run well. The agenda has to be clear and complete. Again, I'll do a separate class on how to write an agenda. Something that a lead or CTM can do is to run reports from CTMS or from data management, EDC, with reports that the CRAs can use to help manage their sites. Historically, I've been provided a lot of reports, but I prefer to run them myself. Someone recommended that I learn how to run macros, and I did, and it's helpful. Another thing that a CTM can do is remind people of the next data lock and what's going to be reviewed, and help the CRAs get prepared for it. The timing of their monitoring visits, as well as the work that the CRAs should be doing at the monitoring visits. So now I'm going to transition to the project manager. Things that the project manager can do to help make sure that their people succeed. One is to provide meaningful, targeted training. And not only do the training, but conduct some sort of assessment to see if the training was effective. That might be a quiz. It might be a verbal questioning. My experience has been that the training provided to CRAs is at best perfunctory. I do my own training. It's really good. Again, I will do a separate video on what I think training should entail. A big thing that project managers can do is to write plans that are meaningful and complete and clear. So that would be the monitoring plan, the communication plan, the recruitment plan, and to write these plans in such a way that the CRAs can refer to them and find out quickly what needs to be done in different situations. My experience has been that monitoring plans are about 70% useful, and the 30% that they neglect creates a lot of problems. So write a good, easy to understand monitoring plan. Project managers can run really good meetings with a sponsor. And again, the three components of a good meeting are: where are we, what's ahead, and what's the plan? And if those three things are done, probably the sponsor will get what they say in the Navy is a warm and fuzzy. In other words, the CRO has their stuff in one sock, and they got things under control, and they have a plan. Try to get a sense from the sponsor what's important to them, and share those sentiments with the CRO staff. That's another thing. So now going up to the AD. I think AD stands for Assistant Director. It's someone who the project manager reports to. This is huge. One of my thoughts about clinical research is project managers are A, undertrained, and B, under-supervised. I've been in a lot of situations that the project managers are really, really, boy, a lot of words are coming to my mind now, inappropriately placed, clueless, foundering, terrified. A good AD will not let a project manager go out into the wild until the project manager is ready. Just don't hire her or him and throw them into the milieu and say, well, do the best you can. Nope, that's bad leadership. That is like malevolent malfeasance. I like the idea of SOPs being written on A, how to train a project manager, and B, how ADs can assess the effectiveness and the readiness of a project manager. My two ideas are A, attend a meeting. Does the project manager run the meeting? Does the project manager promulgate an agenda, and is the agenda followed? Is the agenda complete and accurate? I've had a lot of scary PMs. The two scariest ones are ones who delegated the running of the meeting to someone far junior. That to me is terrifying. The leaders should lead, not the followers. The managers should manage, not the workers. So there should be an SOP. Managers run meetings. It's okay to have someone else take minutes, but the manager runs the meeting. No one else. And if someone else is running the meeting, there needs to be a discussion with the PM saying, why did you abandon your responsibility there? Don't do that again. And then retrain the PM on how to run a meeting. It's actually not that difficult. If you're having a good agenda, you just go down it. You let people speak. Where do you stand? What's the plan? Next. Where do you stand? What's the plan? Next. What's the plan? And so on. There should be a list of all the project plans, the status of them, and when the date of their effectiveness, their version date. And maybe even when they're due to be revised. Some plans have a scheduled expiration every 6 months, every year, something like that. The meat of an agenda is, what's the plan once you leave the meeting? All those things should be in the minutes. And the minutes should be promulgated shortly after the meeting so that way people can start acting on the things that they said that we're going to act. And then the next meeting you have, you pull out the minutes and you say, did you do this? How did it go? What problems did you have? What successes did you have? Where do we stand? What's ahead? That's a manager responsibility. So for the AD, first thing, write SOPs on how project managers should be trained, and second, how project managers should be supervised. So those are some ideas on my take on what leadership is. And again, my leadership ethos is make sure your people are successful. Get your face in there, do the work, be creative, look around, listen. Do not let your people fail. In the Navy, they had this expression, get out into your spaces. That's like the military version of management by walking around. You need to be active to find out what's going on out there. Just attending meetings will give you about 20% of the picture. You need to be aggressive about finding out what's out there, doing an assessment, finding out if there are problems, coming up with a plan. That's where the money is. So that's it. That's my take on, to me, one of the primary pillars of leadership.